Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light. You are beautiful, just the way you are. Step into the love. You're illuminated by the glory of God's love. Step into the truth. From within, your abundance overflows. Our love can change one life. One life can change the world. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. I am the light of the world. You are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. So move with me. Step with me. Step into the light. Step into the love. Step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. I am the light of the world. You are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. So move with me. Step with me. Step into the light.
Hello, beloveds, and welcome to Vida Spiritual Learning Center. My name is Sunshine Day, and I get to be the spiritual director here. And I just want to welcome you to our Sunday celebration. We are a spiritual community that embraces spiritual education and practice as a means of living our best life. So, let us remind ourselves and one another of our motto and something that we take to heart on a regular basis. And it is our vision and mission statement. Here we go. By valuing and empowering all, we inspire a fulfilling and joyous life. And in Spanish, it's a valorar y potenciar todo. Inspiramos una vida plena y alegre. And so not only do we live by that as a community, we live by that individually and collectively, that we might inspire a fulfilling and joyous life. And one of the ways that we do that is by engaging in spiritual practice. Our spiritual practice really sets the tone for us knowing the truth of who we are individually and collectively. And today we have a special treat because our very own Reverend Kevin Cottle is not only going to lead us in our meditation, but is also going to do our opening prayer. Reverend Kevin?
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful reminder and introduction of our vision and mission. I just invite us all now to just become quiet and still, if you will. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. Or perhaps you might just cast your gaze on something that is interesting or inspiring to you. And as you do that, just become aware of the pattern of your breathing. Just notice each in-breath and each out-breath. You might just say silently to yourself that I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. And I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. And as your attention is now a little more clearly focused, you might consider just repeating this silently to yourself. I am one with the one and only one. Still following each in-breath and noticing each out-breath. I am one with the one and only one. I am one with the one and only one. And should you notice any distractions, just give that distraction a name. And with utmost compassion, just return your awareness to that natural pattern of your breathing, following each in-breath and each out-breath. I am one with the one and only one. I am one with the one and only one. And should you notice any sensations around your body, just very briefly call your attention to it. And just return your awareness, your attention with compassion to that natural pattern of your breathing. Just breathing in and breathing out. I am one with the one and only one. As we continue in this calm and receptive state, just allow me to speak a few words affirming and clarifying our time together today. So steeped in this connection that I feel in this moment with the one and only one. I know this one and only one to be a living, loving spirit. I know this one and only one to be a universal intelligence, a kindness, a compassion, a caring that exceeds all understanding. And I know this one and only one to be everywhere and within. I know it to be everywhere, surrounding and indwelling me. And what is true for me is true for all beings everywhere, and especially true for you and I gathered here right now. That we are one with the one and only one in magnificent and joyous ways. That we feel that presence as a love, a peace, a joy. We feel it as a health and a well-being. We feel it as right relationship with ourselves, with others, with all the world, and with living spirit. So I speak my word that our time together today is indeed an activity of God. It is engaging in the beloved community. It is advancing and furthering our spiritual learning. As we join in these spiritual practices, as we allow words of truth to wash over our consciousness, we are changed at depth. We are moved to a higher consciousness. We are moved to a more compassionate expression and experience in this earthly realm. And I bless and give thanks to all those who have come before, whether it has come before in ancient times or in the moments that have just passed. I give thanks for all those that bring us to this moment of presence with the presence. And so blessing the world as I am blessed, I give thanks for this communion in spirit. I give thanks for this answered prayer. I give thanks for this beloved community. this Vida Spiritual Learning Center. And I simply release it now all into the law of mind in action, because that activity of God is happening right now. It's happening for me, it's happening for you, that each of us is opening to a brighter, richer, fuller life, a brighter, richer, fuller love, and a deeper compassion. That's all happening for you and for me right here and right now. And now it is, and so it is. Mm. Mm. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to lead us in that community practice. Felt really good to me. I trust it did for you as well. So I think I have just a couple of announcements for us here today. So coming up on August 21st, from 2 to 6 p.m. at our Vida Spiritual Learning Center, our physical space at 1524 East Hellman Street in Long Beach, we're having an open house. It's a casual kind of meet and greet. So invite your friends and family, join in fellowship for a couple of hours, and it's also an opportunity to hear about our upcoming plans for classes and workshops and gatherings of all types. It's also a chance for us to hear from you about what interests you at Vida Spiritual Learning Center. And toward that end, we want to find out when it's a good time to meet. So there is a link on our weekly Vida SLC email to a survey, and it only asks a few questions. It's really quick and easy. So you'll find that link in the email. It's also printed here if you are a fast typer, you grab a screenshot. All right. And as usual, Reverend Sunshine leads her spiritual remedy Mondays at 9 a.m. on Vida SLC Facebook Live. So join her there then for that, I guess about 20 or 30 minutes of a spiritual remedy. And Reverend Sunshine is also leading in-person meditation, and that'll continue throughout the month of August every Wednesday at noon. Again, at our physical location at 1524 Hellman Street. And I'll spell Hellman correctly the next time I do this slide, in Long Beach. So yeah, there's a little bit going on, and I trust you're very interested and active in all of that. I want to take a moment to be appreciative and grateful as a spiritual practice to all of those who serve our community. Thanks to me for our practitioner of the day. Thanks for a wonderful message coming from Reverend Sunshine. Thanks to those who look after our live streams on Facebook and on YouTube, and if everything went well on Twitter, we should be live today. Thanks to our Leadership Council for continuing to guide the ship of Vida Spiritual Learning Center. Thanks to our technical team, Barry and Gary. And thanks to all of you for joining us here today. It really makes a highlight of my week and my day for all of us to gather here today. So thank you for being here. And as another form of spiritual practice, giving is a form of spiritual practice. And here are some ways that you can give or donate to the Vida Spiritual Learning Center. You can send your gift to 1524 East Hellman Street, spelled correctly this time, in Long Beach, California. That's zip code 90813. Or you can use your bill pay service, as I do. There are donate links and buttons. I'll shortly have one up in the chat on the Zoom meeting, but I'll also post it on Facebook and YouTube in a minute. And they're on the website and the email. So if you click on those, it'll take you to a place where you can use your credit or debit card to donate. And we use the Zelle service as well. So if your bank has Zelle, our bank has Zelle, so you can Zelle and use Zelle to Vida at vidaslc.org. And this becomes a kind of spiritual practice based on the consciousness with which one gives. And for me, that consciousness of giving that elevates this, that moves this to growing and stretching my consciousness, or just feeling good about giving, is just feeling generous, feeling abundant, feeling prosperous in some way, feeling just this decent, good, divine flow that this giving extends and expands and symbolizes. So I invite you just to take a moment to call to mind what the good of giving feels like to you. And as we do, I invite you to unmute, and we will say simultaneously in English and in Spanish, we will say our statement of giving together with that consciousness. If you're ready, all right, here we go.
La
Abundance
abundancia
Abundance
flows in
flows
my
fluye en
in
mi
my
life.
life.
vida.
I
Estoy
am
I am
blessed
bendecido
with
blessed
con
with
prosperity.
prosperity.
prosperidad.
I
I
Doy
give
con un
with
with
sentimiento
generosity.
de
generosity.
Yes.
Yes,
generosidad. Sí.
I
I
tithe with
tithe
Diezmo
faith,
on
sobre la
faith,
belief,
fe, la
and
belief,
with a
and with
creencia
a
consciousness of
y
love.
una
consciousness of love.
conciencia de
My
amor.
My
gift
gift
is a
Mi
divine
regalo
is
es
circulation
la
through
circulation
me
through
circulación
me
that
divina
now
a
that now
través de
benefits
mí,
benefits
and
and
que
grows
grows
ahora
our
our
spiritual
beneficia y
spiritual
hace
community
community
crecer
and
nuestra
and
beyond.
comunidad
beyond.
espiritual
And
y más
now
And
it
allá.
now
is.
it
Y ahora
is.
es.
Mm. Well, thank you so much for that. And with that, I just want to move into today's message.
The annual theme we've been looking at is living everyday wonder. Our topic is relationships, and today's talk title is The One and Only. When I think about the one and only, I think about how my experience with the one and only has changed. I think about how growing up I had this antiquated idea of God, the one and only, life, infinite intelligence, the great reality, higher power, whatever name or title we give the one and only, this infinite intelligence, prana, that has created everything out of itself. What's most important is really looking at the relationship that I have with or as this power, this presence, this life. And so I want to jump right in and really shake things up, because up until this point, many of us have been living life as though our relationships with other people are just relationships. Coming out of COVID, coming out of looking at current state of affairs in other countries, wars, rumors of wars, reports of wars. The latest thing that has been coming up, at least here in this country, is this idea and this dis-ease of monkeypox. Our relationships with people really impact and influence who we are. And so I want to take a look and just kind of jump into this idea and see what you think about it, see how it affects you or impacts you, and see where we go from here. The way you treat yourself, the way you treat people, the way you treat animals, the way you treat life equals the way you treat God. Whoa. What do you think? All of a sudden, yeah, you start thinking about all those people, all those animals. Sometimes it's easy. I talk to a lot of people who love animals, and they go, I would rather be with animals than with people. And of course, the unconditional love that animals and our pets, who we consider sometimes family members or even closer than family members, that love and that relationship is amazing. And yet, sometimes those relationships are more powerful than our relationships with other people. But what about this idea that the way you treat yourself AKA the messages you give yourself. Oh, there I go again. I'm so silly. I'm so fat. I'm so skinny. I'm so this. I'm so that. That the way you talk about yourself is the way you talk about God, or the way you treat yourself is the way you treat God. Now, I remember growing up as a kid, having this idea of this higher power that I would look up into the sky and think was just so grand and glorious, and that I needed to be this good little kid in order to please God. And that's what I was taught. And as I have grown and evolved, my thinking and my idea of life and of God, higher power, infinite intelligence have shifted and changed throughout the years. What's interesting to note is that I no longer think that I need to please some external power outside of myself, but that indeed that this power and I are one, that I am made in its image and likeness, that it is living me right now, that I am the unique, unrepeatable, magnificent way that life shows up. And to the degree in which I begin to expand through my prayer, through my meditation, through my study, my concept and my idea of higher power, it's to that degree in which I actually begin to recognize and know that God, higher power, infinite intelligence, the great reality, is not just living my life, but is all life. Therefore, the talk title, The One and Only. And so as I begin to look at and explore and examine that this is the truth, and as I begin to examine and consider that question, like the way I treat myself, or the way I treat you, or the way I treat animals, or the way I treat life equals the way I treat God, is because the idea and the concept is that there is one power, one presence, one life, that life is God, that life is whole, perfect, and complete, and that it created everything out of itself. Therefore, all is God. So I ask you, who annoys you the most? Who ticks you off the most? Oh, I don't like that he did such and such and such, and I don't like that she did ABC, or, oh yeah, those people, right? You're talking about God. You're talking about the infinite intelligence that is living in, through, and as all. And to the degree in which you begin to actually recognize and treat others the way you would treat God. In other words, are you making your life sacred and all life sacred? Are you seeing that your relationship with other people, whether it be your neighbors, whether it be coworkers, whether it be your family members, in particular the ones who annoy you the most, that is the life of God? Imagine that is the truth, because it is. How would you be treating people differently? A lot of times we talk about creating a world that works for everyone. That's a grand order. What an order, right? And we have this idea that little by little we can change the world, but the only way to change the world is to change the quality of your relationships. Because when you have ill will, or when you are, oh, I don't like him because he did this, or I don't like her because she did that, you're saying, I don't like God. Oh, I only am pleased with God when God looks like this, or God acts like this, or God performs this way. Or I might believe that God has created everything, but not that. And so where do we go from here? where do we go? How is it that we begin to feel love and to begin to actually change the world by changing our relationships? My thought on that is based on a Rumi quote that I have modified for everyday English today, and that is, when you want to feel love, remove your own barriers against it. When you want to feel love, remove your own barriers against it. So, again, we get to look within. Again, we have this opportunity to check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? We have this opportunity to see that we actually do create our world. And by changing the quality of our world, by beginning to look to see, like, where are the barriers? Where am I having a hard heart? Where is my heart hardened? Who am I absolutely fed up with? It could be a political party. It could be a group of people. It could be anybody. So I once had a friend, Alma, who used to say, find your heart, get into your heart and soften it and live from there and soften your heart. And that is the idea of when you want to feel love, removing the barriers, removing the hurdles, removing those structures that you have put in place so as not to be loved, so as not to be seen, so as not to be hurt. When we do this, you can't see one another. However, when we begin to remove the barriers, when we begin to remove those blockades, those structures, those borders that we've built to protect our hearts, we must change the quality of our relationships. And one of the ways we can do that is recognizing the ways that we speak about people and the way we speak about others, because the way you speak about other people is the way that you speak about God. Fred Rogers says, if you could only sense how important you are to the lives of those you meet, there is something of yourself that you leave at every meeting with another person. I had a friend who used to tell me, you never know when you create a memory. And as Fred Rogers said, we leave something of ourselves with another person. What is that? When we're on the phone with a bill collector, or we're on the phone trying to get a donation, or we're on the phone trying to get a bill reduced, or trying to get something, what is it that we're leaving with the other person? Is it a bad taste? Is it, ooh, that person is a little bit salty? Is it, wow, even though it didn't go that person's way, that person was kind and loving? Changing the quality of our relationships, recognizing that the one and only is living in, through, and as all of us. In particular, that one that annoys you the most. And so today, one of the spiritual practices that I want to focus on is spiritual mind treatment. Spiritual mind treatment in our philosophy, because the science of mind and spirit is a philosophy. It's not a religion. It's not a denomination. It is a philosophy, a way of thinking. We don't tell you what to think. We teach you how to think. We teach you that there are specific ways in which we can actually create our lives. We can create our world. We can create the things about us. And spiritual mind treatment is actually a prayer, and a prayer not beseeching or begging some power outside of ourselves to give us or grant us something. But in fact, it is a scientific prayer that realigns my thought to recognizing that which is the truth. So by engaging in daily spiritual mind treatment, I am treating my mind. Just like a physician would treat the illness, we are treating the mind. Spiritual mind treatment. And I'm not going to go into the entire 5-step process. However, I am going to introduce a way that we can begin to see the one and only in, through, and as each and every one of us by using the first few steps in a spiritual mind treatment. And for me, when I think about a spiritual mind treatment, the first step in spiritual mind treatment is to recognize that there is one and only, and that it has created everything out of itself. And we recognize the qualities of this one and only. And we recognize that because this one and only has created everything out of itself, then there is no separation. There is no place where the life of God begins and my life ends, but that this very life that is inhabiting this body, that is this body, it is the manifestation of the one and only, that this is the body and the unique and unrepeatable, magnificent way that spirit, that life, that essence, that God shows up in human form, just as in animal form, mineral form, as the ocean, as the air, as all things have been created from this one and only. Therefore, it is already whole, perfect, and eternal. And to the degree in which I recognize that this is the truth, I begin to then use spiritual mind treatment to treat my mind, because I am I'm stuck in behaviors and behaviors that see me separate from you. Therefore, that's why I could be like, oh, you annoy me. Instead of like, look at the life of God being about whatever that life of God is being about, knowing that my life is the same. And that you cannot give me or grant me anything, because my life is the life of God. Everything I need and that I want, I already possess within me. And so I don't need to feel threatened or hurt or harmed by you, because I am the life of God, as are you. Whoa, that right there is super deep. And so in spiritual mind treatment, in the very first few steps, I'm going to be repetitive, but this is just to be so simplistic that if we focus on this daily, if we repeat this to ourselves in a way, using our own words and recognizing this truth of our oneness, then we actually begin to believe less in separation and more in the one and the only, in, through, and as all things. And it is then that we actually change the world, because the quality of my relationships, when I see you as my other me, when I see you even bigger than my other me, when I see you as a unique and unrepeatable way that God shows up in human form, and I treat you accordingly, the nature of our relationship shifts. And we begin together to create this world and change the world. Our experiences change. And so I want to introduce you to a portion of spiritual mind treatment. And here's what I've written, just as an example and an invitation, and for some of you, even a challenge to adopt this. Take a photo of it, take a screenshot of it, to begin to use this as a daily practice for yourself. This is part of a spiritual mind treatment, and if we were to actually use this on a regular basis, our life will shift and change. if we begin to say to ourselves with the utmost compassion and love, and beginning to believe the words that we're speaking and reading, there is one and only. This one and only is whole. Whole meaning lacking nothing. This one and only is perfect. It is already perfect. It is eternal. No beginning, no end. This one and only is whole, perfect, and eternal. This one and only created out of itself. Therefore, this one and only is my life now. This one and only is the life of all now. Therefore, that which is true of one and only is true about me and about all life. Say to yourself, there is one and only. This one and only is whole, perfect, and eternal. This one and only created out of itself. Therefore, this one and only is my life now. This one and only is the life of all now. Therefore, that which is true of one and only is true about me and true about all life. Beloveds, if you pray this prayer, if you indeed begin to incorporate this as a daily spiritual practice, even this section, anything you say after that is true, because that which is true of one and only is true for you. It's true for me. It's true for all of us. And to the degree in which I recognize that, embody that, and live that for myself, I begin to actually experience affluence, abundance, plenitude, generosity, clarity, opulence, grandeur, safety, joy, health, well-being. I begin to actually experience all the things that are true of higher power, all the things that are true about life itself. And then we'll be able to say, all my relationships demonstrate my relationship with God. There's only one relationship, and that is our relationship with God. And as we see God in, through, and as everything we encounter, and we treat it accordingly, we indeed begin to live our amazing life. This is the truth of what I know, beloveds. And I encourage you to walk this way. I encourage you to begin to pray this way, to begin to treat your mind, and to begin to correct those things that no longer serve you, to get unstuck from the beliefs and the behaviors that no longer serve you, and to recognize that right where you are, the Almighty is, the one and only is living in, through, and as you. So, if you're tuned in and you're watching and you've been blessed by this talk, I'm going to encourage you one more time to support our spiritual teachings. And I'm going to invite us into a word of prayer. How grateful I am in this moment to speak the word for and about anyone who is within earshot, anyone listening, anyone watching, recognizing that there is one and only one, and that this one and only is love, is joy, is peace, is eternal, it is power, it is wholeness, it is perfect, and that it is my life now. And as I know that it is my life now, I know that it is a life of all, for anyone and everyone within earshot, for anyone who is listening to these words, that your life is indeed the life of the Almighty in human experience. And because this is the truth for each and every one of us, because this is the truth for all life, I'm simply knowing that the opulence, the peace, the joy, the love, the prosperity, the abundance, the wholeness, the health, the well-being that is God, the perfection of God is the perfection for each and every one of us. And to the degree in which we recognize that this is our truth, that there's one power, one presence, one life, that it created everything out of itself, therefore our life, my life, is that same life. To the degree in which I release this idea of separation and I recognize that there is only one and only, and that one and only is living in, through, and as me right now, that I am not a drop of the ocean, but I am the drop and the ocean is in that drop, that it is one and the same. It is to that degree in which I recognize my own abundance, my own peace, and that I recognize the peace and the abundance of all. So I give thanks for this spiritual community. I give thanks for each and all prayer requests that have come through. I give thanks that this is the truth, not only for my life, but for all life. And grateful for this reminder to treat each and every person, place, thing as the life of God. For there is the only that relationship that I have, that relationship with God, that relationship with life. And so I say yes to this. I say yes to recognizing that all life is sacred. I see the sacred. I hear the sacred. I speak the sacred. All life is sacred. And because I pray believing it is done, I simply say, it is so, and so it is. It is already done in the mind of God. Therefore, look for all the ways, beloved, that this prayer is made manifest. We believe in the power of prayer. And so if you'd like prayer, please reach out to us. We love praying for you. So until the next time, bye for now. Thank you so much for being here today. We absolutely love and adore you. And we're going to close our time today in prayer, another prayer, and this is a prayer in song. Please reach out to us if you'd like prayer, and stay afterwards if you're on Zoom for prayer with a practitioner. Now let us lift our voices and sing this prayer.
This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see. With open hearts and open hands, we lift our voices, in love we stand. This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see. With open hearts and open hands, we lift our voices, in love we stand. This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see. With open hearts and open hands, we lift our voices, in love we stand. We lift our voices, in love we stand. We lift our voices, in love we stand.
Thank you for live streaming with us. We'll see you again next week.